Welcome, Bill,
Thank
officially.
you, Phil. Thrilled to be here.
For
Thank you.
Tell me a bit about you. Like, what's a 2 minute pitch for
Oh,
Bill?
man.
Electric Bill, some would say, right? Is that
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. Well, let's go there then, Phil. So, my mother wanted to call me Billy, but her friend said you can't call him Billy. He's going to be a 62-year-old man, bald like his dad, and in 2025, it won't be appropriate to call him Billy. So, what they put on the birth certificate? William. So, I'm actually William Grant Williams. I'm the son of an electrician, and I was born in northwestern Ontario. It's now called Thunder Bay, but it's actually the
Mm-hmm.
amalgamation of two different townships, a famous port and a famous fort. The port was Port Arthur. The fort, wild guesses, Phil? Come on. I'll give you a hint. I'm William Grant Williams.
William?
Yes, bingo, ding, ding, ding. You win the
Okay.
prize. So yeah, William
I
Grant
don't think
Williams
I've
from
had enough
Portland.
coffee, by the way, Bill, for these questions this early in the call. But
Well,
yeah,
and also at the same point, I am Electric Bill, and it's because
hmm
of my energy. So,
that's
for me, really, Phil, what life is about is that I believe in brilliance, and I'm really here to help people build their best. I am an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a host and MC, and also I facilitate leadership development programs. So that's really what I do. And AI has just been this emerging trend for me in a really big way to take a lot of the heavy lifting that I used to have to do and just simplify my life. So that's the 2 minute or less intro of Bill and Electric Bill.
And for those who don't know me, which is probably everybody at this point, I'm a partner at Webisoft and host of this fresh new podcast called The Innovation Blueprint. So we talk to leaders in different industries and talk about optimization and how certain problems sometimes are lay dormant, just waiting to be fixed. Sometimes pretty easy fixes, right? You just have to look for them. So I guess on the topic of AI, because you did bring it up. First of all, if I asked ChatGPT about Bill, by the way, it would give me almost the same pitch that you just gave me. So this is good.
Okay, I
You're
like that.
you're aligned. You're on brand.
That is good to know.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you. Thank you.
And I hope, if you ask about Webisoft, they would do the same, right? So that's the hope. And ChatGPT is actually a big referrer for us. I think it's our
Wonderful.
biggest lead generator. Yeah. At
I
this
love that.
point.
I had one of my colleagues tell me that they actually asked a client, "How did you hear about me?" And they were told, "You came up on ChatGPT." How do I make myself the number one referral for Keynote speaks on getting people to stop burning out and start burning brightly? That's what Electric Life is all about.
I
We'll
mean,
talk about that later.
yeah, it's a bit of a flywheel, right? Like if you rank on Google, then or search engines, if you're out there on YouTube and different places, agents or models would look for. They find you there, and then you get referred on the model. It gets kind of a positive interaction, and it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy a little bit. So for us, like for instance, like we're quite successful at ranking on a ton of different keywords. And so
Okay.
ChatGPT will pick up on that, and then Grok would do the same, and different models would do the same. So on the topic of AI, actually, what's a day for you like? I guess
With
first
AI
question.
or just a day for me in general? Because every day is so different, Phil. It's hard to believe.
So
Um,
let's do general first
okay.
and tell me about how AI has improved it, let's say.
AI has just been, so powerful for me. However, I have to be careful with it because it is not always correct. Yeah, as you roll your eyes, I take
Yeah.
it you may have experienced that as well. So on a daily with me, oftentimes I need to create scenarios for my clients that are working in a facilitation, if you will. So if I'm doing a full day leadership development program, before that day happens, I'm putting together all the content. And I always want it to be very industry specific. And so I will ask it to create scenarios for the participants to work through applying the learning that they've had. And so that used to be painful for me, Phil. Writing those scenarios was like, oh man, really? Like, what do I have to come with? And AI and ChatGPT, I simply give it the client's name. It figures out their industry. I give it some parameters and some scenarios, possibly the leadership model I'm working with. And what it comes up
Mm.
with is absolutely brilliant. So that's one application for me. Another day in my life might be hosting a conference. I'm about to host the Global Data Center and Cloud Expo here in Mississauga. And
Oh
with
wow.
that, I'm going to be interviewing two government officials that are coming from the province of Alberta. And so ChatGPT helps me come up with the questions. Even better, Phil, I hosted a conference a couple of years back in Baku, Azerbaijan, and the keynote speaker was Steve Wozniak.
I
You
saw
did?
that photo somewhere, maybe on
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I literally asked ChatGPT, what would you ask Steve Wozniak? And so it just curates all this great lists of questions for me. And then I can select from those. And then as I'm working on my keynotes, I've actually uploaded my own book, Electric Life, 12 Micro Steps to Pay Attention, Be
Yeah.
Brilliant, and Go
I heard
Deep.
about that.
Yeah. And then from there, it helps me figure out, what are the best stories that would resonate with that audience. So the full book, it's 90-minute read, so I can't do it as it. Nobody's hiring me to read the book to them. They can buy it on Audible if they want it. But what I can do is work with them to say, here's the outline of the audience that's listening, and you pick from the micro steps and help me. So it crafts the keynote for me. So every audience that hears about me and from me can hear what they specifically need and want to hear based on the needs of their people. So I love using AI for that.
You don't have to answer this, but did you use AI in any way to write the book?
No, but I did partner. So I'm the author, but I did partner with a writer who was a human being. So,
allegedly a human being.
Allegedly, yes. Yeah. Twofold. No, I had the chance to meet them in person. So I believe them to be true.
Right. Because you never know these days, right?
Yeah. But you know what? Somebody did propose to me that I should write another book going a deeper dive into some of the micro steps. So should there be another book come out, I wouldn't be surprised if I used AI, maybe not to do the writing specifically. I would want to partner with the same individual again. However, what I would use it for is to help me come up with stories and examples and data and research that I can use and leverage. Obviously, it would need to be validated, and use that in the next book, should there be one coming.
Yeah, I think for even getting past writer's block, right? Just getting from 0 to 1 or 0 to 0.1 even. I think AI is great. I think it's naive to want topic of art, for instance. There's some purists out there that are like, you shouldn't use AI for any of it. And I don't want to see AI art. If you're using it, you're almost cheating, right? It's not real. I don't believe that's true.
Well, Phil, I'm of a generation dramatically older than you, but in my school,
you would think my hair color might indicate either age or stress.
One of the two, right? We never know.
One of the two.
But I was in the age where there were, the calculator was invented. And when we went to school and we're in math class, we were not allowed to use the calculator. And I see us fighting all of this technology. And what I would invite us is, rather than spend the time fighting, why don't we spend the time figuring out how can we use it most effectively? And how can we educate our young people about AI? The things they should be aware of. As I said, I've caught AI making some mistakes. I've asked it to use a very specific leadership model, and it's come back with somebody else's content. And so you need to know what you're talking about. Don't just put it into AI and copy and paste and submit that to your teacher. You better validate that and make sure it's all accurate and correct. So how do we lean into AI, and how do we allow students and others to use it in the most effective ways so that we are leveraging our own creativity and our human characteristics, but taking advantage of the technology that's available to us today? It's amazing. It's fascinating.
It's not an easy question to answer, right? I have 3 children. My oldest, thank you. My oldest just started high school, and she's now has her own phone and everything, and data plan, and obviously access to the internet. And she knows about ChatGPT and other tools like that. And, it would be almost detrimental to prevent her from accessing that, right? Yeah. But then how do you make sure that, they don't start asking it all the homework questions and start relying on it? Because, a friend of mine told me, it's the first time in human history that we're kind of delegating thought, right? Where before, machines would help, but maybe physical feats but not the thinking part. Now you're essentially subcontracting thinking.
Well, are we really though, or am I subcontracting a researcher? So can ChatGPT? So it was interesting. This was a question I actually had the opportunity and the honor of asking Steve Wozniak. Was about AI. And he said, there is no way to create artificial intelligence. It takes 9 months to create intelligence. Okay. What else takes 9 months, Phil?
Yeah, I get it. You
got the joke. In background, they didn't get the joke from him because of English.
My wife did it 3 times,
The two of you, it took both of you to do it 3 times.
Well, it took me for a brief moment.
But the beauty is you've now explained where your gray hair comes from. Your eldest is a daughter, and she's in high school. So dad's starting.
And I'm an entrepreneur, right? So, What
Pay
else
for
could
university, Dad. Go for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Speaking of on the book, on the topic of the book, because I did look into it a little bit, what's the difference between a mistake and a mistake?
Oh, actually, it's really quite simple. A mistake is a failure. A
Hmm.
mistake, the only time you can have a failure, Phil, is if you don't learn anything from it. A
Mm.
miss hyphen take, that is where you've had a take, you've done it. Think about it from a movie perspective, if you will, or even this
Hmm.
podcast. You may have some of this may come through to your audience. Others may get cut and end up on the editing room floor of our conversation. But really where I go back to, and that one that really drove me the most, Phil, was Steve Jobs and the team at Apple. And from the research that I've done and what I understand, all of the engineers were working on the iPad, but that's when they, created the touchscreen glass. And when Steve Jobs saw that, he's like, stop all production, stop everything on iPad. Everybody come to this tower in the Silicon Valley. We're going to put another skull and crossbones flag on the top of it like a pirate ship. And we are now going to work on the iPhone. And it's interesting because I regularly ask, my audience is what is my smartphone? And they almost immediately say, oh, you're on an iPhone. And I'm saying, yes and no. Yes, this is an iPhone, but there's only one iPhone. This is the iPhone. I'm very proud now, Phil, because it's the iPhone 16. But I was on the iPhone 11 forever until my battery life was like
Oh,
basically
wow.
an hour.
You're,
And
you're
so
one of those people.
I was one of them. I was one of them. And the beauty is that the team at Apple have figured out that process of iteration. And so that's what miss hyphen takes are. How can
Hmm.
you be comfortable with this iteration of it? But then what did you learn from creating that? And how will you make it even better the next time round? That's what leadership is to me, making
Yeah.
things better. And it's by celebrating those miss hyphen takes. Too often I find people really beat themselves up when something isn't perfect. Perfectionism is paralysis. Perfectionism means you're waiting for it to be absolutely perfect. I cannot believe my life right now. I can't believe what the world would be like if Steve Jobs and the team at Apple did not release the iPhone until this iPhone 17 was ready.
Hmm.
So that's, mistakes are, there's failure, and failure we learn nothing from. If we learn something from it, it was not a failure. We learned. So that's a miss hyphen take, and now make it better.
Is it Confucius that said, when you lose, don't lose the lesson?
Oh, I did not.
No,
I'm going to have to go look at some Confucius quotes now. That
that's a
I
new
didn't
one
have that.
for you.
Thank you. I
In
will
the
get that
same
into my
vein.
keynotes. Yes,
And then I
thank
have
you.
another one, which would be, perfect is the enemy of good, right? That's what they say.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
And, well, who was it? Aristotle that said, "Good is the enemy of the great." That
Oh,
when
there
it's
you
good,
go.
it's good
Yeah.
enough. But it's almost upside down, right? Whereas I would say, don't go for great, just go for good. I'll
Just
take
release
good.
it.
I'll
What's
really
the
take
worst
good. Let
that's
it
going to
out.
happen?
Yeah. See what you can learn and make it better.
YOLO, right?
Yes. You only live once. Yes.
So how big is your operation? Is it like mostly you essentially with some external help, or how would you
It is
define it?
100% me. Yeah, it's
100% you.
100% me. 20 years now. Again, yes, I do have some external help. So I have an incredible graphics person that makes my PowerPoints and me look really great and on brand. I've got a phenomenal social media team that I outsource to, and they get me on video. I was recording this morning, and we did some great video content for my social media. They really take really great care of making sure that my websites and my documentation and all of my social media is really on point and on brand.
And have you
But
ever
then that's it.
wanted
It's me.
to, that's it? So you never wanted to kind of scale or?
20 years ago, Phil, I did. That's why I called it. Well, there was a couple of things going on before we were talking about imposter syndrome. I thought, if I opened up Bill Williams Consulting, who's going to show up? But when I have a corporation that is the B4 group, it makes it sound bigger.
It did sound like a group when I
like I got
saw the
lots of people
invite. I'm
coming
like,
to me.
okay, who's this guy? Yeah.
But no, it's only and always has been me. And, I've led people in teams as small as 2 and as large as well over 250 people on my team that I was ultimately responsible for. And there was just something at that point in my life where I just decided, you know what, I want this to just be me. Take these next few steps. As extroverted as I am, as much as I get energy from being in large groups of people, if anything about my business that I miss, it is that collaboration. And so thrilled to have partners like Kathy at Blue Elephant Group that really do the social media stuff, and Geo at Geographics that help me with that. So they give me a bit of a team feel. But I've been in the environment of working on my own for 20 years now. Now, again, I partner with clients, but the business is me.
And is that mostly because you like to control like all the aspects of what you're doing, or you've never found like people that you would work well within that environment, or?
I did have somebody that was responsible initially. One of the biggest challenges I had was pricing, Phil, because the work that I do, whether it be talent development, facilitation, keynote addresses, even the executive coaching, is very subjective. And there was something really challenging 20 years ago about telling somebody what the value of my work was, literally in a price tag, on a dollar figure. And so I did hire somebody that, really, I would do all of the negotiations right to the final piece. And then when the customer would say, well, how much is that? It's like, let me have my person give you a call back. And so they did, and they did the pricing.
Okay.
And so that made that easier. In regards to the other pieces, if I really wanted to scale this business, I could. And that probably would take a team of people to do. So, others that I would love to be able to compare myself to would be, the one that comes to mind would be the late, great Dr. Stephen Covey. And he wrote an amazing book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Oh, I read that.
It's an incredible read. It's an incredible book.
Is he the one that did The Speed of Trust also, maybe?
Yes and no. It was his son, Stephen M.R. Covey, wrote The Speed of Trust.
Way. Okay.
And so he leveraged his father's work. And
that's my favorite business book, by the way.
Was it The Speed of Trust?
Yeah, not because, obviously, business books in general, I feel like once you're past the main message, kind of gets repetitive a little bit, but the message was very strong for me because especially in my line of business, which is mostly consulting, once you lose trust, it's over, right?
You're done.
Yeah.
I think that's with anything in business. Now, at the same point in time, there were great stories and are great stories where trust was restored and the world has been made a better place. And one of the first one that comes to mind for me, Phil, was the really significant struggle that we went through with Tylenol back in the 80s. And
that's a bit of a controversial topic these days, Bill.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. Depending on who you talk to. But the beauty of Tylenol is that, when you look at what they did in order to maintain or rebuild trust, do you have a wild guess of how many people actually died from the tainted Tylenol capsules? Or do you know?
I am not familiar with that story, so I wouldn't, maybe thousands.
Okay, fair enough. So actually 7 people died from
that's it.
Tylenol
Okay,
capsules.
wow.
That's all. And actually, Phil, what's super sad is that 3 of them were from the same family. So one person took the tainted Tylenol capsules. 2 family members came to be with the family to mourn and take care of it. By the time they traveled to Elk Grove, Illinois, just outside of Chicago, they had headaches and they took the same tainted Tylenol capsules. So of the 7, 3 were from the same family. So incredibly sad. But what happened was the police were literally driving up and down the streets of Elk Grove using their megaphones to say, do not take Tylenol. Tylenol itself actually took out an advertising campaign about their own drug and the source of that drug. So what is it? Acetaminophen?
Yeah.
Ibuprofen?
No, you got it. The other is
Acetaminophen. And so they literally took out an advertising campaign because they didn't know what it was. They removed 100% of their products from the shelves because they did not know. Now, in the end, so think about the impact of that. 100% of your products. And the other thing was they did it within 5 business days that all of Tylenol was removed from all shelves. Pretty significant impact. But from that, we have tamper-proof bottles. We have sealed bottles. We have child-proof bottles. All of these things that came because of it. So I think as old as the story is, another one here in Canada is there was a wisteria outbreak at one of our food manufacturers. And the president of that company was told, do not go on television and talk about this. And he actually said, no, I'm taking our entire marketing budget. Yeah. And we're putting forward about what we've done to clean up the wisteria and to apologize for this. So I think there are good lessons learned from those environments.
Wow. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that at all, actually, the Tylenol story. Poor Tylenol, they keep getting hammered by these.
I think they've got a lot of data, medical data, and proof that they are not causing the issue that they're supposedly being accused of right now. But we'll see what people believe and what happens to the product.
Well, regardless, it's kind of reputational damage, right? Like, unfortunately, yeah. Mm-hmm. Bill, what do you think you do better than everyone else in your industry, let's say?
Well, the feedback that I received, Phil, and the biggest honor came from Amanda Lang. I was about to interview the then former Vice President of the United States of America, Joe Biden. And I said, Amanda, I'm worried. And she said, Bill, you have an incredible talent to listen. And when you listen, that opens you up to your follow-up question. So when you're interviewing somebody like that, Phil, even you today probably have a list of questions you're going to ask me, but you have no idea where the conversation is going to go thereafter.
I may
allegedly.
Well, listen, First of all, I would be, if I get to decide, I would not have a list of questions. I would just go
Ooh.
crazy off topic. Our marketing team said, you need to ask these questions, and
Listen to you listening. Look at you
yeah,
listening, a great skill to have. And
well,
so what was amazing about those conversations was just simply the ability to ask the questions, because those types of people, when you're interviewing them on a stage in front of thousands, the questions have been vetted beforehand. Like
yeah,
not a
yeah, of
surprise to
course.
anybody in the audience.
Like a
But
late,
the
like a late
follow-up
show.
question, yeah, the follow-up question, that's where you get to sort of tap in. It's like, you said this, and so now let's take that. Let's go
Hmm.
down that pathway for a while and have that conversation. So the ability to listen, and quite frankly, as a coach, that's another really critical skill to have. But in
Yeah.
listening, you need to listen beyond the question. Like, what are you
Hmm.
truly asking? What are you truly saying here? And how can we connect on that? So I
So you
think
do
that
it.
differentiates me a bit.
Okay. So your empathy, you would say, maybe?
Empathy on top of it as well. Yeah, I absolutely look for, how does that make you feel? And
Mm.
and given that feeling, what do you want to do about that issue or opportunity, that possibility, that problem? And how will you take it from there? I guess the other piece of what makes me different than many other people, Phil, is my ability to find positive in even the worst case of scenarios. And
Like
so,
the mistake from earlier. I
ding, ding,
see.
ding,
I'm
bingo.
starting to see a pattern here.
There we go.
Which
Well
is, by
done,
the
Phil.
way, we were both in line there. That's how I think as well. Especially if you're any kind of an entrepreneur, right? You can't beat yourself up over, like, you're gonna make mistakes. Like, even on
Mhm.
this podcast, probably making several because we're
Well,
just
and
getting
so
started.
exactly. So watch the next podcast, folks. There's a plug. See how well Phil improves between this podcast and
There
the
you go.
next one.
Let's take this first one, and then I think I was looking at, who was it? Let's call them modern podcasts, but so many now. But I think
Mhm.
it was Chris Williamson, right? The Modern Wisdom, and he like posted like the first episode, which is like literally like in a basement somewhere, badly lit. Both have
Yes.
laptops. And then the 1,000 episodes, which was what Matthew McConaughey, right, the actor, like in a
Mhm.
crazy
Yes.
set. You want to do anything, you gotta start somewhere, and when you start, to become an expert, you gotta
Yeah.
you gotta suck
Well,
a little bit.
what is inertia? A person in motion stays in motion. A person in rest stays at rest. So it's really about making that first movement, first step, first
Hmm.
opportunity to move forward. Yeah, and then I want to celebrate that, and then just keep on going, folks. Keep on going. Look back. There's a reason why when we drive, Phil, that the rear view mirror is as small as it is, and the windshield is as big as it is.
Okay.
So remember the past, see that past behind you, but keep moving forward into that big open
Focus on
space.
the future. I love it. How many more analogies do you have for this? I feel like
Hundreds
it's a
and hundreds, Phil.
bottomless pit. But they're all good.
Yeah,
That's the kicker.
I love it. Yeah.
What would you change? And again, like, I don't know how much it applies to
Mm-hmm.
what you do, but
Mm-hmm.
so you see, obviously speaker as a coach. What should change in the industry? If you had a magic wand and like, I want this to happen this way now, like, what would it be?
What's coming through for me, Phil, is that I wish all of our audiences, whoever they may be, and this is whether it's a one-on-one conversation, a small group conversation, a huge auditorium, 100,000 people, or a podcast, which potentially is going global. I would invite people, what I would change is that they don't listen with an open mind. Stop listening with an open mind. What I want you to do, though, Phil, is I want you to listen with an empty mind.
Oh, okay.
What's the difference between an open mind and an empty mind? An open mind has bias in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
I guessed it.
Well done, Phil. Ding, ding, ding. Again, more points for you. Now, I don't know. What's your beverage of choice, my friend?
Bubbly,
Okay. Are we talking
sparkling
champagne?
water.
Are we talking sparkling water?
No,
What are we
sparkling
talking?
water. If we're going alcohol, I would go with an old fashioned. But you got to be careful these days. It's got to be with rye, right? Canadian rye.
Even Canadian rye, or potentially even Canadian de-alcoholized rye, because it's becoming a more and more popular
Oh yeah,
beverage to
I'm
have
not a huge.
alcohol-free.
If I'm going drinks, I'm gonna go alcohol, and then
Okay,
if I
give it a
don't want
kick.
alcohol, I just don't want like anything that resembles something
Right.
alcoholic, But that's
So
me.
then this glass of water represents an open mind.
Mm.
And if I now take your favorite old fashioned and pour it in here, I just destroyed the water and I destroyed your old fashioned. The
Yeah.
kick isn't there.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay. Okay. You had
you
that
get it now?
ready. You had that ready, right?
Well,
That
no, I
whole,
didn't, but I also have
that,
my little glass, my little cup of
okay.
espresso here, which was decaf, by the way, folks. This is pure natural energy. And if I
Well,
took my
yeah.
favorite espresso and put it with my other favorite water, I've just
Yeah.
destroyed my espresso and I destroyed my water. So no,
Hmm.
I wasn't intending to sip on this in any way, shape, or form because I'm on camera. But they're there should there be an
I've been
emergency.
drinking from this sparkling water the whole time. Is that bad practice?
All depends on your personal brand and reputation. Something tells me your editors are going to cut that piece out
Oh, you
of
think?
where you're, and especially if you're drinking through a clear glass, you don't want people looking at you. What they see when you tip that clear glass back,
They
there's some,
wouldn't dare cut it out.
we'll see
We'll
what
see.
happens with your
We'll
editors.
see. I have no visibility as to what they're doing. You're the first batch, right?
You have 100% trust. I love your courage. I'm going to applaud your courage.
Listen, at one point, especially, you have children?
No, I don't.
When you have children, and that's true for a lot of other things as well, but with children, you got to just let go at one point. And it's like, hey,
Okay.
whatever's going to happen, like I'm doing my best and that's it. I'm focusing on what I can control. And so like for these, we decided, all right, let's just do it, right? It's a good idea. Let's start. But obviously I'll probably be a better host in 1,000 episodes.
We would hope.
Maybe.
Nothing wrong with you today, but can you get even better? Yeah. And that's the
Potentially.
challenge I bring to myself every single day is, do I have the courage to make things better? Just a slight improvement every time. Now, you're in the great province of Quebec.
I am,
I believe
yeah.
you're in Montreal. Do you speak French?
I do.
So the word courage.
Courage, yes.
And so what is this? What is the core of the word courage? Say it. Yeah, which means
Heart.
yeah. So all you need to be in order to be courageous is just come from your heart. Have the confidence in you, Phil. Come from the heart. Do what you believe is the right thing to do right now and make it happen.
I love it. I love it.
Simple words, simple things, take, courage from the heart. There's so many powerful words that are out there, but we just forget what they actually mean.
Well, now I kind of have to read the book, Bill. I would feel bad not reading it. It did sound like I don't know if you do that as well, but you ask essentially AI to give you a recap.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do that?
No, I haven't. I haven't done it on my own book yet. I should have.
I could. Okay, let me go through it actually. Let's see what the book is. So 3 parts: pay attention, be brilliant, go deep.
Yes. Well done. Now the question is, what the heck does each of those mean?
What does that mean? No, but then they go into like some key micro steps and themes, and then you kind of get like you even get like the takeaways, and it's useful if you want to just get the message out of something, but you don't want to necessarily like go deep, because obviously reading a book is a whole other experience, right? Than like reading a recap. It wouldn't do you any favors, probably. Like you spent.
I think it does do us favors, though, Phil. And that's what I love about AI is that it does let me know. It's like, okay, so now I've read this overview. Am I intrigued by that? Am I interested in this? Do I want to pick up a copy of the book or not? I'm thrilled actually that ChatGPT or AI, whoever you use, actually
it was ChatGPT on this one, yeah.
That thrills me. What I have done in my own environment is I uploaded the book, which may have given you access to it. I don't know. But I also, I
that's
know
a
that the
good
world
question.
isn't always an
Where
ethical
did it get
place.
it from?
Where did it get
probably
the data
find
from?
out. I could probably find out for you.
I've asked it questions and helping me with my keynotes, it's come back with these great suggestions. And it said, this scientific study, I'm like, quote me which page in the book I actually referenced that on. And it's like, oh, yeah, no, that's not in your book. Do you want me to find something from your book? It's like, yes, that's what I'm asking for. So that's where I catch it in these little mistakes. But they're actual mistakes. But it's learning, so maybe it is a take.
Do you think there's enough information about you publicly that a public model would essentially use that to, like, let's say you ask it to come up with keynote questions. If I asked it, come up with questions based on what Electric Bill would ask, do you think it has enough information to be accurate?
At this time, I would say no. I think that it would need to have more uploads of me engaging in conversation. However, my social media person, Kathy, has shared with me that she has uploaded into ChatGPT enough information that she can ask it to create things using my tone, using my voice, if you will. But that's what I loved about the writer that I worked with in putting the book together. I mean, yeah, she did the heavy lifting and we worked together to write the book. although I'm credited as the author. She is credited as an editor of the book. That's the beauty, is that she really listened and she really found my voice. And Phil, past employees and other people that know me that have read the book have said, I remember you saying that. I remember when that happened.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, that's impressive to me. Like, that's how good Lisa Thomas Tench is that she found my voice, and others have acknowledged my voice in the book. And I'm like, okay, that's powerful. Thank you.
As a, let's call it, solo practitioner, right? One man army consultant. That's where kind of AI becomes interesting when you talk about scale, because there could be a time, and, honestly, you could probably pull it off now, right? Where you have kind of a small language model that you train exclusively. Well, obviously it comes with a base knowledge, right? So let's say you think about like downloading ChatGPT, like as is, now still has access to the internet, but it's trained specifically on how you work. So like you upload last 10 years of speeches, anything you wrote, anything you talked about, and now the model essentially assimilates all that. And you can ask it to be a second you, right? And eventually it becomes like it runs on agent mode, runs on its own. Now you have like another you that's working all the time. Like, do you see that as an interesting path, or is there an alarm sounding like, well, this is too much,
No, I love it. But again, where I'm at right now is going back to the Steve Wozniak response. And the question you asked me a little bit earlier, and where I'm going to get hooked up on it, is that ChatGPT doesn't think. From my understanding, it researches and it searches deeper and does deeper dives into the data that it has, but it can only work with the data that it currently has. And so I know how I would answer these questions. And if I was to say, hey, ChatGPT, Phil is going to ask me these questions, what are my answers? It could go and pull stories. So what I love about it is it might say, oh, remember that time back in, grade 5 where your teacher did whatever? I didn't remember that. But because ChatGPT has access to that data, it's Dr. Henry Weisinger that shares with us that he believes there's no such thing as intuition. What he believes is that we just don't know where to access that data in our own heads. And therefore we call it intuition. We call it coming from our gut. It's not coming from our gut. It's just coming from a bad filing system in our brain. And we don't know where to find it. So we're just saying my intuition says yes or no.
So basically what you're saying is you have the data to make that decision. You're just not conscious that you are pulling from past experience, let's say.
And so that's what I love about ChatGPT or AI in general, would be that I can, if it is uploaded with all of that data about me, now in my preparations for today, it's going to remind me of some really great anecdotes or stories that I can share with you that I might not have remembered in the moment. Whereas what I have worked really hard on, Phil, is just being honest, transparent, and truthful, and just resting in my heart, getting out of my head, which is very ego driven, and just getting into my heart and just answering honestly to you. Meaning I speak the truth and I'm open in sharing with you my life experiences. And in some cases that may not make me look so good, Phil. I'm not proud of everything that I've done in my life.
Who is?
Like there's some stupid stuff we did when we were kids. Please always remember it so that you can get better and better every day.
If you want to experience the highs, you got to know about the lows, right? Otherwise...
If I love my bad days, because without a bad day, I can't differentiate a good day. And without a good day, I can't differentiate a great day. So I need
it's like LA, that's the same weather every day. Like, how do they enjoy it? They can't.
Yeah.
They need snow and hell. And
they've had hell.
Oh, they have hell, actually. Oh,
they did have hell. Yeah,
you're right.
I'll be going and touring that in a couple of weeks just to see what they're doing to rebuild that area of that city.
So do you go to US a lot still?
I try right now. I am Canadian and I'm very strong Canadian. I don't, we're getting into some really interesting stuff here, but I have the courage to share with you that,
what's I haven't been paying attention.
Well, just everything that's happening right now with the current administration.
Just joking.
Yeah. Lucky you living in a rock. But yeah, things aren't good. So any real strong personal things where I would have gone down and hung out with friends this summer on Cape Cod, I would have been down there for a week and I pulled back from that. Some of my business clients though, I know their people deserve to have some really great leadership development. So I'm willing to do that. I don't see it so much as the people right now, but I see it as the administration. So whether or not you wanted a serious answer to that question, I'm not sure. But that's more or less where I'm at right now.
I was going to be okay with half serious, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
this
am
is
definitely looking and working with the people that are representing me to have me do mostly Canadian work. I just was over in Manchester, the United Kingdom. Sadly,
okay.
I
Yeah,
had an incident there just in the last couple of days. But again, yes, I'm looking to go. I'm not
more
isolating,
on
but
let's call it the international circuit.
yes, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, back to places like Baku and Dubai and Europe and the rest of the world. Asia would be incredible to get over and work in those environments.
When you work with external people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's say even like on the AI front,
Right.
what do people try to sell you that doesn't work, right? What's an approach that you keep seeing that people try to, pitch you and it just doesn't work for what you need?
Well, a dear friend of mine, Ron Tite, quoted this phrase for me that, or maybe he doesn't realize I got it from him, but a pitch slap. And
A
so
what? A pitch
a
slap?
pitch slap. So you'll go on LinkedIn. And what I love about my LinkedIn handle, Phil, this is a trick for all of your folks. This is, what do they call it? A hack, I guess. I am Bill G. Williams on LinkedIn. And whenever I get a message from anybody that says, "Hi, Bill G. I know that was automated.
Okay.
So AI, you screwed up on that one because you're busted. You didn't just go hi Bill. If I get a hi Bill, I'm like, oh, that was a human being that actually typed that. And then the next thing is that once I get the hi Bill G period and what they're into, I almost immediately within seconds of accepting that connection, because I never know the value of the connection. I'm not going to judge that. I'll take the connection, but I can almost guarantee you when I'm going to get a pitch slap. Because now immediately they're pitched. So for me, LinkedIn isn't about selling me your products or services. For me, LinkedIn is about let's partner and connect together. How can I help you get better? How can you help me get better? How can we share our thought leadership? How can we share our knowledge with other people? If I wanted to go shopping, I would go shopping. Connecting with you on LinkedIn is not me saying, come and sell me your stuff. So
right. So I know exactly what you're talking about because I get it quite a bit. It's honestly, I think it's worked a couple times. But I think it's all about approach, right? Because sometimes what you described is the same, right? Like work together, like collaborate or work, it could mean the same thing. But it's all about how you approach it. If it's more of a personalized message and it's, obviously there's a timing aspect to it. If sometimes I'm thinking about something and then coincidence, someone messages me about that exact, solution. Like if you see, I hope this message finds you well. You see the double hyphen, like the dead AI giveaways. Like obviously you're gonna start. They're starting negative, -2 on.
Absolutely.
So out of everything that you see, because the podcast is called The Innovation Blueprint. So I do have to ask an innovation question. But
yes,
out of everything you see on the landscape, let's stick to what's relevant to what you do. But what do you think is real innovation and not just like a buzzword or something?
True innovation. Let's go back to the origins, right? And Phil, that's something that in the work that I do, what I'm seeing right now is that we really need to go back to basics. And even in interviewing Christine Sinclair, the number one goal scorer of all time in soccer, better than any man at the World Cup levels, she talked about the best things that she did was going back to the basics. And so I would say around innovation is that necessity is the mother of invention. What is necessary? What do we truly need? And then let's innovate to create that. But let's make sure that there is some form of a necessity for it. Is there a need for it? There's so much stuff that we're creating out there that I have no need for that in any way, shape, or form. It's now beginning to control us. And so the smartphone itself and just the constant scrolling, those circles that people just keep going around and around in, those deep dives of watching reel after reel after reel. So, what I would suggest from a LinkedIn perspective is just make really damn good content. Post your great content up there. And when you're good enough that you've got great content, then people are going to want to hire you to do what it is that you do. But if all you're doing is using it to spray and pray, so what I mean by that is you're putting out this blast.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I used to play Counter-Strike. I
don't never played Counter-Strike, so I don't know what that is, but you can fill me in later, Phil.
Yeah.
You're just throwing stuff out there to see what sticks. And that to me doesn't speak to your purpose. It's like when you have a true good purpose in your core, in your heart, you have the courage to put it out there, then people will want to buy it. But the question is, who are the right people for you? So back to innovation.
Yeah.
I think it really goes back to iteration and improving things. But really, let's look for what's the necessity for that. And so right now, I would love there to be some innovation around healthcare and making sure that everybody has access to healthcare. I would love for there to be innovation around housing and helping those people that find themselves in a homeless environment right now. I would love for there to be innovation around, even just realizing how diverse we are, but how much the same we are, and doubling down on that. So I'm not sure what category you'd put all that in, Phil, but it's like truly make this place a better space. Maybe this will tap into a little story, Phil. I was working at a large call center in southwestern Ontario. This is where I had about 250 people reporting into me. I was the head of talent development to begin with, but in that new capacity, I was exposed to every employee that worked within the contact center, because I would open up every one of our customer service courses just with a greeting to them as the most senior leader in that space. Anyway, long story short, a period came along, and my colleague in the contact center was dismissed. And the head of human resources came to me and asked me if I'd wear two hats. And I said, sure, I'm more than willing to do that for our people. And so I took on that role. Within a week, my colleague, who was responsible for all the data, said, Bill, I need to talk to you. I shared this with your predecessor, but nothing was done. And I need you to know that some of our top performers are also 2 standard deviations away. I didn't know what that meant, Phil. I still don't really know what that means. But basically, long story short, they were manipulating performance indicators. So our people were smart enough to figure out they had every month they were recognized for having the perfect average handle time on the phone. And then when we listened to their calls, they were having long conversations with voicemail, and they were disengaging, cutting off a number of our contact calls in a row. But when they did the calculation, they ended up with the perfect average handle time. Phil, they were educating our own people in our own cafeteria. So if they could take that, bad behavior and turn it to good, amazing. How many scams, how many CRA, Canadian Revenue Agency, text messages do you get? You know damn well they're not from CRA, but our elder people in our communities don't know the technology as well, have a belief that there are good people out there, or that they're going to get in trouble with Canadian Revenue Agency if they don't respond to this. If they don't respond, yeah. And they get hacked. So all of that bad actors that are out there with all these scams and schemes, if they were working for the good in this world, what a difference.
Yeah, that's crazy that I had not to that level, but kind of cheating the system a little bit. Like we've had people, especially in this remote work world, right? So obviously we work mostly with developers and engineers. That's most of our team. Some of them in a remote environment will try to cheat the system a little bit, right?
Oh, what are they doing, Phil? Talk to me.
Well, so an example would be all of a sudden employee will not respond during business hours, will only respond at night, right? All of a sudden. And so then you're like, what's going on here? And like, is he on a new sleep schedule? And then we find out he went to Europe, or he went back to his home country, right? Without telling anybody. And then, okay, well, you could have told us, right? And then obviously there's the obvious ones where for a long time, and this was true mostly during COVID, when everyone, worked from home, people impersonating Canadians, for instance, like, so I'd get a candidate coming in, you would say he's from, let's say, Toronto, right? And then comes on the interview, doesn't have video or has a fake background. You hear a lot of noise around them. That's strong accent, from like foreign accent, right? And they're like, are you in Toronto? And yes. And then I started asking my trick was, I started asking about the weather and how it is, how's Toronto? Like, what street are you on? Like, and then oftentimes what happened was those people just left after 2 minutes because they realized like the jig was up, right?
Yeah, but at the same point in time, this is what I'm talking about, Phil. How can we lean into that? Now, obviously, when you're compensating them, paying them, you're going to pay the taxes that go with that. Now, they also need to have in Canada a social insurance number to come on board and work with you. That needs to be valid. And so I think there are enough measures in place. But quite frankly, for me, it's reminding me of another story of one of my favorite employees. And my boss came into my office and said, what was so-and-so doing at the grocery store at 2:00 in the afternoon in the outer parts of town? And I'm like, I'm going to go with buying groceries. I don't know. Does that win a point? That sarcasm probably got me in trouble. But at the point, I said, no disrespect, leader, but you have no idea how many email I get from that employee at 11 o'clock at night, at 1 o'clock in the morning. And we have an agreement about their deliverables, and every one of those deliverables they make, I don't care. if she works from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I don't care where she works. What I care about is that we have agreed deliverables, and within the time frame, she delivers. So not sure why you're asking the question, but I trust my team member and they deliver. And we benefit from that. So, the other situation that I look at is, how many businesses in North America leverage outsourcing and, having people work in other countries that make a fraction of our compensation. Is there an ethical question there? You're taking work that a Canadian could do. We're in Canada, and you're having it delivered somewhere else in the world at a fraction of the price. Is that smart? Is that a great strategy? Or is that taking work away from a Canadian? Mm-hmm. Not my question to answer, but
for us, like we kind of we're in, like, some of our competitors would be in Eastern Europe, for instance, right? Like in terms of engineering, most of our team all of our engineering team is in Canada for multiple reasons. We kind of have that reputation of being onshore, right? And oftentimes if you go offshore and you outsource and it's only for cost reasons, it can backfire. Right? Because you're first of all, it's far away. If something goes wrong, it's not within arm's reach, let's say. A lot of our clients come to us and say, we've had a bad experience for any reason. And again, like, there's some extremely talented teams out there, right? Like very, very good teams, but it's also a bit of a rolling the dice. It's not the most stable countries sometimes, right? There's war, there's crisis, there's tons of stuff happening that maybe more so than in North America. Those clients come in and say, like, listen, like, we've tried the offshore and now we want a local partner, right? We want onshore. We also get, we'd like to work with Canadian company. Sometimes that's a requirement now. Like, that's a bit of a trend, obviously, for multiple reasons that we can suspect.
And, I'm not saying any of them are right or wrong or good or bad. Yeah. I'm just saying that they are, but let's be transparent about it.
100%.
Let's be transparent about 100%. it. I can deliver this at this price because I am offshoring, or I can deliver this, but at that price because it is 100% Canadian made. Yeah. And our cost of living is very different than the cost of living in many other parts of the world. Yeah, it's great innovation.
There you go. You're bringing it back. And so I have a couple rapid fire closing questions. I know we're coming up on time. I want to be mindful of that, but maybe you've touched on that a little earlier with the bad actors, but what keeps you up at night, whether in life or in business?
At 62, it's probably a full bladder, Phil, because I'm grateful that there's really not a lot of concerns that keep me up at night, with the exception of my own performance. And so when I think about if I am waking up in the middle of the night, it's like, oh yeah, I've got this talk that I'm going to be doing. And then sometimes my creative brain starts to flow at those hours. Oh, no. And so it's like, oh yeah, I could do this and I could do that and I could do the other thing. And then I have this really great mantra. On the inhale, I'm not of this body. On the exhale, I'm not even of this mind. And I just keep repeating that mantra back and forth until I fall back to sleep again.
And then you fall back to sleep. So I do that, but not the same way. Because I'm the same, right? I'll wake up for any reason, like could be a kid or we have a puppy as well. So
lucky you.
There's so many things that can wake me up, right? So what I realized is, and this helped me a lot when the kids were born, obviously, because like, for instance, my job would be, if the baby wants to drink, essentially breastfeed, I'd pick him up, give the baby to my wife, and then go back to sleep. And then, so that was my job. But but if it doesn't involve thinking in any way, I'll fall back to sleep right away. And then the next day, I won't even remember that I woke up. Right. And sometimes, like, there were nights where I would wake up, I'd tell my wife, wow, this was great. We didn't wake up once. And then she's like, what are you talking about? We woke up 10 times.
She's so angry at you for not remembering that.
Yeah, because she was, and she's the opposite of me, right? She doesn't fall back asleep. Like, sleep is super difficult for her. But what I realized is, and it gets worse over as I get older. I'm 40 now, by the way. As I get older, if I fall into the trap of starting to think about something, then it's almost like the brain wakes up. Right. Yeah. And then it's hard. And what I do is I almost have to tell myself, don't think about this. Like, stop thinking, almost like have an empty mind, like the empty glass analogy from earlier. That's kind of what I have to do. So it's not as sophisticated as what you do, but it seems to be working.
It's a mantra. It's a mantra from Sadhguru. Yeah.
From who? Sorry.
Sadhguru, who is the head of Isha Yoga.
Okay, I will definitely look him up.
Yeah, he's big.
What would you change? I mean, you kind of touched on that a little bit. What would you change in your industry?
Oh, my industry. I thought you were going to about myself. It's like, I don't want to be follically challenged, but at the same point, it's actually a bit of a blessing because I have no budget for product.
For hair products.
My hair. I can get up and roll out of bed and look fabulous. So sorry, innovations in my industry.
What would you change actually? So like maybe you see like, I don't know, like everybody's kind of now a coach, is there too many coaches? Like, is there like the barrier to entry too low, or what would you like to see change?
No. I think that, there's places for all of those people that, a lot of people have been outsourced and now they, are looking to coach. And I think if you can create a following, then great, you're an effective coach. What I would change is that if there are credentials to an industry, to a field, rather than just having to go and get so many continuing education credits, which is something that I'm grateful for to some degree, because when they need those and the course I'm delivering is one of those, it creates drive for them to come to my program. But I think that we can do a better job of looking at how we leverage that type of certification, if that's what you're going to require. And it shouldn't just be by continuing education credits. I would like to see something a little bit more robust than that, because I think a lot of people are spending a lot of money for those credentials, but aren't necessarily getting any return on the investment of that. So that's one small thing that I would change in my industry. And I think the other thing that I just in life in general, I think that I would change, which does affect my industry or something I observe in my speaking industry, is that scarcity mentality. Back to 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that we were talking about earlier, one of the things that it talks about is having an abundance mentality. And that, of a pie, there's only so many pieces of that pie that you can cut. Well, bake another pie. Like, there doesn't have to be scarcity of pie, just bake more pie, man. And so I would love to see more abundance and sharing of information and opportunities. And, what I love about my industry is that I have a voice, but I know other people that sort of align to my voice. And it's like, what, you just had me last year. Why don't you bring in this person? Because they will build on my content and this will be incredible. Bring me back the year after that. Because, there's only 3 of the micro steps you heard of. I've got 4 more talks I can do for you based on the 3 micro steps you hear in each one of my keynotes. So there's sort of 4 keynotes you could hire me for, but don't hire me 4 years in a row. Bring somebody else in that's different. And just that's more.
So then you can, again, like the highs and the lows from earlier, right? Like bring somebody else, you'll see how good I was. I get it.
Yeah. I love that idea, Phil. Yeah. Because now I'm willing to be stacked against that.
I see what you're doing. What you're doing. Parting question. And then obviously if you have questions to wrap it up, by all means, but I was going to ask, where do you see your business in 5 years? And can you see your business in 5 years with all this kind of rapid innovation, right?
Yeah, I'm giggling and laughing, Phil, because I'm 62. So at 67 is technically when it's like, okay, that's a retirement button. But I've always said as well.
Is it though?
So technically
retirement.
So what I've said, Phil, is when I started my business 20 years ago, is I never work and I'm always working. And, I never intend to fully retire, because even if I'm living on a beach in some tropical country that Canada's managed to align with, Turks and Caicos, we looked at many, many decades ago that potentially was going to be a part of Canada. And I would love that to happen. So I can be on a beach as a Canadian with the Canadian dollar. But the thing is, there's always going to be somebody that I can coach, whether it's business coaching or life coaching. There's always potentially going to be somebody that would be willing to sit down and listen to one of my keynote addresses. And I would love to moderate conversations with people, especially with younger people. So I do a lot of work around mentorship right now. Dell Soar with Mentor and other programs. I'm a member of the Grizzly Den, which is higher landings program that help people that have been let go from their companies and their jobs get into a new way. So I love to support those people. So honestly, 5 years from now, where do I see my business? About the same. I'll probably be generating
maybe more automated a little bit.
I don't know. I think no, because even right now, like you and I, you're in Montreal, I'm sitting here in Toronto, we're having a great conversation. My coaching clients, it's extremely rare that I do those in person, where we can literally shake each other's hands or do a fist bump if we need to. It's done this way. So I can be sitting on a beach, like you talked about these people that you knew who were interviewing
a fake background
from Toronto, but with a fake background. No, that's one thing you'll rarely ever get from me is a fake background, because I do believe that it diminishes trust. If
it could, yeah.
In a way, then fine, I'll put it up for your conference. But
hides a messy basement. In some cases,
Possibly.
maybe mine sometimes.
Yeah, you never know. Stick a picture behind you, you're good to go.
I did that for a while. I had like a huge kind of, was it either a green screen or a black screen? I can't remember what I had. But then people were like, "Why do you what's going on in your background?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
I'm at the office today. So this, by the way, is going to be it's called official podcast room, right? So we're going to have like
studio.
a full, studio. We're going to have like a full wall and the neon sign and everything. Going to be cool. But
I love it.
you're the early ambassador
Iterations.
program, so you don't get to see it.
Have me back for your 10-year anniversary. We'll talk.
You'll be
Well,
back.
maybe 10 years is too long. I'll be 72 then. You never know. Maybe
50
before then.
episodes, you'll be back.
Yes.
I can feel it.
I love it.
So
Phil.
this
You're gonna
was,
do
I think, we're coming up on time. Wrap this up now. Do you have any parting words?
Reach out if I can do anything to support you in your success. If I can make your life even a little bit happier, please reach out to Bill G. Williams. Find me on LinkedIn and or BillGWilliams.com. Connect and let's see how we can partner and make your business easier, give you more energy to live your life the way you want to live it. Absolutely.